Hello and welcome to Finally Got Around To, the YouTube channel, website, social media page for all things indie games, tabletop games, all kinds of good stuff. Today we are talking about indie video games though. I did just get back from PAX West in Seattle, but this video is actually talking about a slightly separate event. It happened a Friday night of the conference. It was called The Mix, hosted by the Media Indie Exchange, which was basically just showing off a collection of awesome-looking indie games. And so, of course, I had a great time. Of course, I decided to go to that and check it out. I've got 5 games that I wanted to talk about. These are the ones that I got to play, ones that I particularly enjoyed, and so I just kind of wanted to talk about them a little bit, share them with you, make sure that you knew about these awesome games. So why don't we jump into the first one? This is Tears of Metal, developed by Paper Cult. As you can see, it's a very actiony, bloody game. It's kind of like a Dynasty Warriors meets Braveheart, but it's also a roguelike, and the combat isn't quite as mindless as Dynasty Warriors. Hey, like we've all had fun with Dynasty Warriors. I had a lot of fun playing Dynasty Warriors growing up, but this is not quite the same. Tears of Metal has a lot more nuance and skill ceiling to the actual combat. There are combos, there's abilities you can upgrade, and you do actually have to dodge and block and deflect and use your shield and all kinds of stuff like that. So it does make it more interesting than, you're still, decimating crowds of enemies, but there is a lot more strategy that goes into the actual battles. So basically how it works is a roguelike. You arrive on the coast, you choose your army that you're going to bring along with you that fights against the army. I guess you're invading, so it's like the resident army. You show up and you can say like, okay, I want to bring my archers, I want to bring my spearmen, I want to bring my what have you, and you kind of choose that, and then they follow you into battle, and you have to kind of fight your way through to kind of claim different areas, and there will be branching paths as you progress through that campaign, if you will. And during these, you'll also be unlocking different abilities, different power-ups, stuff like that. And when I got to play about 20 minutes of the demo, I unlocked an ability that it basically had like a blast of fire came out of my sword whenever I executed a combo, and it basically almost felt like my sword was like some kind of shotgun, and it was pretty amazing. So there is this main, very red-haired, Scottish-looking guy who seems to be the protagonist, but there are going to be other characters you can play as. I think there's going to be a total of 4, but don't quote me on that. And they're all going to have different skills, abilities, and powers and stuff like that. Which also leads me to say that this is also going to have a online co-op, as of course the trailer helped me out there. Basically, like, you bring a couple of friends into the game with you, and each player gets to bring their own army, and then the difficulty will scale up based on the number of players that are participating. When I got to play, I got to the boss of the demo, but I did unfortunately get defeated by the boss. But I had a great time, and I'm very much looking forward to playing a lot more of this game whenever that opportunity arises. So this is Rogue Waters by Ice Code Games. It's got a lot of different genres kind of stacked into it. It's got tactics, it's got strategy, it's also a roguelike, and you're also pirates. So there's a lot of things going on, but it's a lot of fun. When I talked to the developers at the Mix, they said that one of the main inspirations, or one of the main mechanics that they kind of built the game around, was rather than having a melee character that just kind of walks up to enemies and just stands next to them and hits them every turn until they fall over and then moves on to the next one. This has a very interesting kind of pirate-inspired mechanic where every time the attacker makes an attack against an enemy, it actually pushes them back into a square adjacent to them, whichever one happens to be available at the time, and the attacker then moves into that new spot. So it kind of is like, whenever you think about pirates dueling, with swords, it's kind of like a little bit of a back and forth, like they're pushing each other back and forth until somebody can actually land the blow. But so that's kind of a very interesting style of combat in a tactical game, and it makes positioning, and it makes where you're going to be pushing these enemies very important. So you can actually push if you push a character into something or another enemy, then it actually deals more damage. So you're encouraged to really think about where you're going to be pushing these characters into. And you can also, of course, do things where, like, if my captain pushes one of the enemies into a line with a couple other enemies, then my spear maiden can also come up and then hit all three of them with one attack, because they're standing in a line like that. Which leads me to, there are you hire a crew, you find people to be a part of your ship, and they're going to all have different classes and abilities. There was the spear maiden, which is able to hit targets that are one square away. They got a little more range to it. But there's also one that was really interesting to me, was the wrestler. During my demo, I had a random opportunity where it came up that my wrestler could run up, grab one of the enemies, throw him into another enemy, and take them both out. So that's kind of the idea of the wrestler, is they are kind of a grapple-based unit. They can grab things, throw things, move things around the battlefield. So there's a lot of depth to this. Each character, each of the classes also is able to level up with experience and improve their abilities, unlock new abilities, stuff like that. So, I'm only scratching the surface here too about what this game includes. So it's a pretty fascinating game, and I'm very excited to play more. I also just learned that it actually is going to be coming out on September 30th, which is awesome. That I'm excited that this game is coming out relatively soon, and I might be able to play more of it. But let me just quickly touch on a couple of things before I move to the next game. I know this one is taking a lot of my time, but there is a lot to talk about. So there are naval battles where you run into another ship, and you take a couple of turns firing cannons. You can choose what to take out. You can try to take out the enemy crew, and that makes the later ensuing tactical battle more in your favor because you have more units and they have less units. But you could also try to weaken their cannons so they can't fire back at you. You can do other things, so it's a whole strategy there. Finally, you can also, so when you're in this game, it is a roguelike, so there will be kind of branching paths that you can choose to take or not to take, and that will even have an impact on your overall, I know there's a word for it, like your I want to say campaign, just because I was talking about Tears of Metal too, but yeah. The other fun thing is so you can, there's going to be battles along the way, but you can also stop at merchants and shops and other places like holdouts for other factions. You can buy stuff from the shops, but you are also a pirate, so you can always choose to just take what you want. Normally this will result in some kind of battle to fight for what you want, but it is nice that that is something that's included, because that's what pirates do. If they don't have the money, they're gonna, even if they have the money, they're still gonna just take it. So I'm very much looking forward to playing more of Rogue Waters. Let me know what you think too. And then we also have, this is Robots at Midnight by Finish Line Games. I didn't get to play as much of this game as some of the other ones. Basically just got to play almost like 2 boss battles against enemy robots. But I got a good sense of what kind of combat is going to be in this game. It's very Souls-like in a way. Maybe Souls-light would be more accurate, because it's as you can see, it's a much less dark and foreboding atmosphere, though it is certainly dark in many ways. But it's got kind of an approachable, friendly look to it. like especially with the main character and the general aesthetic. Like it actually reminds me a lot of like an 80s movie, kind of like a almost like it has kind of like a dystopian Back to the Future vibe to it, almost like a what's that Stephen King Stand By Me kind of. I don't know, I just get some of those vibes. Maybe that's completely off base, but it reminds me of that. There is a free demo on Steam if you want to check this out. I recommend it. But yes, as I was saying, the demo that I got to play was very much geared on, I focused on the combat. I basically I actually fought this that robot right there, and then another one. I wasn't able to beat the second one. He was pretty tough. I saw some other people trying to take him out too, but I didn't see anybody actually win that fight. So it's definitely going to have some challenge to it. But one thing that really did strike me was in the battle, while it does have almost kind of that like classic movie, or even like not quite cartoonish, but it's kind of leaning in that direction. The enemy robots can like manage to be very intimidating, and I noticed they had a lot of weight to their movements and to their attacks. Like when they're walking up to you, you can kind of tell they have this like rigid, heavy like movement that they kind of need to be. They're very deliberate, and whenever particularly the second boss that I fought, whenever he swung his sword, smashed it into the ground, the actual screen would shake, and that kind of added a lot to the intensity of the battles. Yeah, I'm hoping to see more of this game. I did download the demo, so I'm going to try that, and I'll probably report back. I imagine that there is going to be more than just battling robots here. It does seem like there is a whole world that's going to be explored here. So I'm hoping that a good amount of gameplay will also be focused on exploration, finding various supplies and resources and stuff like that. So I'm very curious to learn more. I think this game really caught my attention at the mix. Now, I have already talked about TetherGeist by O&Co Games, so I won't dwell on it too long. If you want to go watch my platformers video that I just put out, I recommend that. But this game really, really, really caught my attention. I am such a big fan of this game's style and the mechanics and the overall arching narrative and world that it's building. And so I wanted to kind of take a moment. I've already talked a little bit about the gameplay in that other video, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about kind of the world that's established in the early moments of this game. So the main character wants to go on a journey, which is a tradition in the village that she grows up in, that everybody leaves and then maybe they come back, maybe they don't. But because in this world, the other people have this same spirit, this Geist, if you will, that they can separate from themselves and teleport to. But they can all go a lot further away from their actual physical body than the main character can. And so that is, see, like that image right there of the spirits literally just floating off into the distance. That is what's held this main character back, that she can only move her Geist about, 5 feet away from her, which, allows for these fun platforming puzzles, but doesn't really help when you want to actually go on when you need permission from the council to go on these long journeys. But I am very curious to learn a lot more about this world when the full game eventually releases. I do need to play a lot more of the playtest, so maybe that will show a little more answers than for what I'm looking for. Yeah. I think I'll leave it there for now, but I'm definitely going to be talking more about this game once I get through more of the playtest, and then hopefully, I don't know when this game is going to come out, but the sooner the better, I say. And the last game I want to talk about, I have written about this on my site. I did get to see it at the previous Mix event at Summer Game Fest, but this is Combo Devils by Punkzilla. It's kind of, as you can see, it's very much like a platform fighter similar to a really popular series that you might know well. But the difference between me seeing this at the Summer Mix event and seeing it in Seattle was that I actually got to play the game this time, which is awesome. It's a very popular at both of these events that I've seen it at, and I actually did have to stop and come by multiple times before it actually opened up and I got the chance to play. It has the classic, modes where you're just fighting against each other, like in like a party mode where you and your friends have each have a controller and you're trying to knock each other off the platforms. But what is really interesting is that this has a cooperative roguelike mode where you and your friends team up to try to beat various creatures, and then there are boss battles as well where you're taking on a larger enemy that has a big health bar. And while I was playing, I unfortunately wasn't able to reach the boss because other things came up at the event. All the developers had to go take some photos to commemorate the event. And, that's all great, and I'm glad that they got to do that. But I'm hoping that there will be a demo for this game released to the public that I can play a lot more of sometime soon. But they have a lot of really creative characters. The character that I got to play is, let me see if it will come up. It's neither of these guys. I don't know. It's a woman who has a big spear that can kind of extend and almost like accordion out, and then she has a bat companion that she can like send out and call back. And yeah, lots of really cool designs, very original designs that I'm excited to experience more of the characters, because in the demo that I got to play there was only 3 playable characters. I don't know how soon this game's gonna come out, but I've seen some artwork of the other characters that are going to be available to play as, so I'm looking forward to that. I think this is going to be a great group game, a great party game. I'm hoping it does come to consoles. I'm not actually sure exactly what platforms it's going to come to, but I do hope it comes to something like the Switch or something like that allows for players to, all sit on the couch together and play. And if they want to battle each other, great. If they want to team up on the roguelike mode, I think that's a great idea. And I think that's something that lots of other platform fighters have been missing, is an engaging cooperative mode for those players who might not be as competitive and might not want to have that competition among their friends. So yeah, I was a big fan of Combo Devils, and I'm hoping to learn more about this game sometime soon. But that is all I'm going to talk about today for the games that I got to play and saw at the Mix. There was a ton of great games there too, so I might make another video, but for now I'm going to leave it there. What did you think? What do you think of these games? Are you going to add them to your Steam wish list? Are you going to check them out? At least, yeah, Robots at Midnight does have a free demo you could download on Steam right now, and then TetherGeist has a playtest that you can sign up for and maybe get to play some of the game on Steam. But yeah, what do you think? You gonna play these games? Are these interesting to you? I'd love to hear your thoughts, and yeah, leave them in the comments. Until next time, peace out. Goodbye.